Welcome back to World Politics. Now, with election after election rocked by misinformation and trust in mainstream media waning, the EU is on a fact-finding mission from fact-checkers. Yesterday, tech titans Google and Twitter unveiled plans they say would help Europeans make informed decisions when faced with fake news. But in the meantime, the EU is taking its own steps. Let's take a look at what Dutch MEP Marietje Schaake had to say on the matter earlier today.
I also think the term fake news is quite difficult because it is so often used to dismiss unfavorable opinions. Look at what the US president is doing, labeling entire newspapers as the fake news. Sometimes I don't know if I should laugh or cry when I hear another fact checker coming up, because I felt like that was actually the role of journalists all along.
Well, joining me to unravel fact from fiction, we have Dutch MEP Marietje Schaake, who we've just seen speaking earlier at that conference, Euronews correspondent Maeve McMahon, and the Sunday Times EU correspondent Andrew Byrne. Now, I will start with you, Marietje. Is it the role of journalists to fight fake news, and are we not doing our jobs? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's actually not what I'm saying. I'm actually trying to empower journalists, because I think if we continue to erect more structures and more regulations and more ideas to challenge so-called fake news, which I rather talk about either junk news or disinformation, then I think we're actually diminishing the role that journalists already play. And if anything, I would like to say reclaim your role as existing fact checkers. You don't need to invent or hire fact checkers. I would like to see journalists being responsible for that all along.
Yeah, and I mean, what about the role of politicians in that as well? And some politicians, I'm not going to say who, have called the media fake news in general.
Well, I think Donald Trump has done that. I'm happy to say that, because I think it is so problematic when one of the most powerful politicians in the world starts dismissing, entire media houses or papers as the fake news media. And this is eroding the term as well, even though there is a serious problem with disinformation and, bots spreading all kinds of rumors or unsubstantiated claims that have been made in the Brexit debate that have probably actually moved people to vote to leave the EU on false grounds. So I think there's definitely a problem, but we have to be very careful when it comes to speech, freedom of expression, what kind of measures are acceptable.
And I want to bring that to you, Maeve. I mean, when we say fake news, it's being used very loosely in a lot of places, where it might refer to opinions that they don't like or agree with.
Absolutely, and we're all in our different echo chambers. I suppose people are really only listening to what they want to hear, and they're spending time with people that they like and enjoy being around, that have the same opinions as them. And that's why a lot of people on their Facebook feeds, for example, or their Instagram posts, everyone's writing about the same, and that's why people don't get it when things go the way they don't want them to go.
Yeah, so, and that when you talk about Facebook and Twitter, that's technology there. And I mean, does it help or aggravate the problem? Because we're talking about the echo chamber, when you read certain news and you just keep getting the same opinion.
Yes. Well, I think this plays into this whole debate of what responsibility. I mean, I totally agree. Journalists have a huge responsibility to be arbiters of accuracy in people they're interviewing. But I think there's also increasing pressure on publishers, digital publishers, Twitter and Facebook, to take their responsibility seriously. And of course, this is an age-old debate of the balance of limiting free speech with the right of people to accurate information. And I don't think we've found an answer to it yet. But I think the pressure will continue to grow on actors like Facebook and Twitter, because now they themselves are the interfaces.
But they are not publishers right now, and so they can hide behind the intermediary liability exception. I know it's jargon, but it basically means that they are neutral platforms. And I think that will have to be challenged, because they are not neutral. They are also engaging in helping, fight what they call fake news or taking down terrorist content or all kinds of other things. So the claim that they don't have editorial responsibility no longer holds, I believe. But furthermore, their business model, the way that you're pushed to see more of the same, because it may hook you to their platform longer, is something that I think we need to really look at.
But don't you think there's a difference between blatant terrorist or extremist propaganda or content versus something that is grey? That would you give that responsibility to a platform, to those tech giants, and say to control content?
No, I actually think we should not be privatizing law enforcement and content moderation the way we are now, because indeed there's a huge difference between illegal speech, which is in limited cases can be illegal, like you said, terrorist content can be, or child pornography is another very clear example. But when it comes to legal speech that is taken down, or legal speech that is leading to all kinds of challenges. Like, let's say in the Netherlands now we have a very heated debate about parents who don't want to vaccinate their children because they believe it's actually bad for their children. But by not doing that, they create risks for other children. So, while we don't want to ban speech about question marks around vaccinations, public health is a legitimate concern. So I think illegal speech is clear. Undesired speech or problematic speech is a whole different category.
Right.
You can't just ban that.
Very quickly, Maeve, what did you want to add?
Fake news is one thing, but journalism is another. And journalists are guilty of that. What we often see is something published and then suddenly it's spread like wildfire on Twitter or on various medias of communication. So journalists have to be forensic about doing their job.
This is certainly an ongoing conversation. I mean, it's a lot of grey areas in this and a lot of conversation to be had.